Welcome back. This was a big week for President Joe Biden. During this, his final week in office, he achieved a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and reflected on his 50 years of public service, saying farewell to the nation.
A sense of relief in the streets of Tel Aviv and Gaza tonight, after Israel and Hamas agreed to a ceasefire with the release of dozens of hostages still held inside Gaza in exchange for hundreds of Palestinians freed from Israeli prisons. Starting this Sunday and over the next 42 days, Israeli troops will withdraw their forces to a buffer zone around the Gaza Strip, halting military operations for the release of 33 hostages, starting with all women, children, elderly and the sick and injured. The pause in fighting would allow desperately needed humanitarian aid to flood into Gaza and allow negotiations to begin for a long-term ceasefire. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who approved the deal, will now seek the green light from his security cabinet before going to his wider government. Barring any legal objections, the IDF would start receiving hostages in what they're calling Operation Wings of Freedom. Among those that could be released in Phase 1, 2 of the 7 Americans captured and believed to still be alive. Sagi Dechelchen, a father of 3, and Keith Siegel, a North Carolina native. Edan Alexander, a dual American citizen, was serving in the IDF and stationed in southern Israel the morning of October 7th. While it's believed Edan won't be released in the first round, his father speaking just hours ago and saying he's never lost hope.
Unfortunately for the families that are waiting for their loved ones to be buried in Israel, the nightmare is over as well.
Gil Dickman, cousin of hostage Carmel Gat, killed in captivity in Gaza, praising President-elect Trump.
I think Trump was the X factor in bringing this deal to life.
The framework of the deal, spearheaded by the Biden administration, Qatar and Egypt, has been on the table since May. But after Trump's election victory in November, there was renewed momentum to close the agreement.
I knew this deal would have to be implemented by the next team, so I told my team to coordinate closely with the incoming team to make sure we're all speaking with the same voice, because that's what American presidents do.
With just days before he takes office, Trump calling it an epic agreement. This deal, a major promise for the president-elect.
If the deal isn't done before I take office, which is now going to be 2 weeks, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
The deal, the first truce since December 2023, now puts Israel and Hamas one step closer to ending a 15-month war that began early on October 7th when Hamas fighters brutally kidnapped and killed more than 1,200 Israelis. Following the horrific attack, an unrelenting assault launched by Israel. Entire areas reduced to rubble. To this day, more than 46,000 Palestinians have been killed. Back here in Hostage Square, where so many have pushed the government for a deal, heartbreak amid the celebration.
The deal that they're signing is very much the same deal that they had in May. Carmel was there on the list for the very first phase, and they didn't sign it in time.
President Biden sounding the alarm on the future as he prepares to exit the White House. He used his farewell address to the nation to warn of a rising oligarchy, just as tech billionaires flock to President-elect Trump's side.
Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
Washington Post associate editor Mary Jordan joined ABC News to spell out what she believes the president hinted at.
He was blunt, unusually clear, and he said that he's really worried about a handful of extremely wealthy people and the power they control.
Biden also touted the long-awaited ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, a deal he says was a top priority before leaving office.
This plan was developed and negotiated by my team and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration. That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed.
The president reflecting on his nearly 50 years of public service, calling it the greatest honor of his life to serve the country.
Only in America do we believe anything is possible. Like a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claremont, Delaware, sitting behind this desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. That's the magic of America.
Biden also called for the end of presidential immunity and term limits for Supreme Court justices. And he said it will take time to feel the full impact of what his administration has accomplished. President Biden also wished the incoming administration well as he stressed the importance of a peaceful transition of power. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment.